Hello guys, welcome back to NameTech channel, and today we are going to discuss on CSS3. CSS3 is the latest version of CSS, and I hope this video finds you well, and it's my pleasure that you have joined me to this tutorial. And I promise that at the end of this video you'll know everything about CSS. So guys, to code CSS, first of all I'm going to introduce to you a new text editor. Remember, in the previous video we used Sublime Text, but for now I do hope that you are now advanced coder. So I'm going to introduce to you a new text editor which is efficient for coders. So let's go to the browser, which is I'm using Google Chrome. So just open it, and then we are going to download Visual Studio Code. So just write Visual Studio Code, and then download it, and then just click on this first link, and then download for Windows, whichever device you're using. For my case I'm using Windows, that's why I'm using, but if you're using a Mac, you can download for Mac or Linux or any other device. So just give it time to download. Like it depends with the speed of the computer. It can take long, or it can take just a few seconds, depending on the connectivity of the internet and the RAM, the speed of the computer. So when it has just completed, just open the file. Yeah, just open the file. Just give it time, then just agree with the accept the agreement here, and then click next. Just click next. Click next, and then you can check these boxes. If open with the code, action, Windows, file, context menu, you can check these text boxes. So you can check these boxes, then click next, then install. Give it time to install. Visual Studio Code, it's a very best text editor for an advanced coder. But if you're a beginner, I will encourage you to use a notepad for you to understand every code. But if you are an advanced coder, this is the best for you. Or you can use even Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver is very best. But for us, we are going to use this Visual Studio Code. It is also the best, among the best, the top ones. When it has just completed, just click. You can launch it now. Check this box and click finish. Then give it time to launch. So this is the text editor, but I want to create a new file. I don't know what will appear on your end. Open new folder. Let me but if you launch it on the first time, so what I want, I had created already the previous text I had coded earlier. That's why it's bringing the codes there. But if it's your first time, just open your file explorer, then go to the place where you can find your documents easily, and then I create a new folder. And name it something like HTML and CSS. And remember that CSS is all about styling a HTML document, so they must go hand in hand. And then when you're done, just come back to your text editor, and then click here, and then open a folder, and then go to the place where you had saved your documents, and then choose HTML and CSS, and then select the folder, and then don't save. I don't want to save this document. I want us to code again. So I think if it's your first time to open the this text editor, it will appear like this. So when yeah, for sure, if you open for the first time, it will be exactly like this. And then just click open a new folder, and then choose your HTML and CSS. Then click select the folder. Then you can remove these these instructions how to get started. And then this is now your folder. So we want to create I said that CSS is all about styling a HTML document. So first of all, you must have a HTML document, and then later your CSS document. Just create a HTML document. So you can say like start dot HTML. Remember, the key thing is this extension dot HTML. When you're done, just click enter, and then I want us to create another document. So just click on this icon here, then create the CSS folder, the document. You just say my styles or anything, but for my case I'm using my styles dot CSS. Then I click enter. So I have two documents here which are very blank. I have my HTML document and then my CSS. Remember, the key thing is these extensions here, the .css and .html. So to code HTML, first of all, let's create some documents. A page here. So with a Sublime Text, with this not really Sublime Text, this Visual Studio Code. When you just write this exclamation mark like that, and then I click enter, it will give you the structure of our web page. So this first line, as we discussed in the previous video for HTML, defines the the version of HTML you're using. So everything here has a mean, like this declaration, this describe that this is a HTML5 document. But remember, you have the previous versions like XHTML. It will have a different different code. It's a self-closing tag, and then this second line we have the HTML. So this HTML defines the root of the document, like this is a HTML document, and then here we have the language that the browser will identify the document. I'm using English, actually English, US English, and then we have the head. So in the head we have the my title. We are going to customize everything here, and then these two tags here for meta define the responsiveness of the page. These three tags define the responsiveness of the page. Like for instance, if you are using a different gadget, like you're using a phone, a TV, you're using the tablet, the laptop, and so whichever device. So with this line, it will define it will help your gadget to identify or to display your content very well on your browser. So this title is what will appear the tab section there at the browser. So let's customize it and make it something like a cascading style sheet. Cascading style sheet. Remember, we are discussing CSS, so let our title be cascading style sheet. So this will appear at the tab section. And so guys, the next thing that we want to add in this HTML document is the heading and some paragraphs. Remember, I told you that this title will appear at the tab section. It will not appear on your page, but at the tab section there. So in the body, let's have the H1. I told you while we were discussing HTML, I told you that H1 defines the highest heading, while H6 defines the least heading. But remember, we have H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. So H1 is the largest, and then H6 the least. It goes in that order. So let's have our h1, and then I click enter. So let's give it something like cascading is for CSS, cascading style sheet, yeah. So and then in the paragraph, let's have some paragraph here. So just write p for paragraph is the tag for paragraph, and then just write lorem so that we may generate some text here. Then I click enter, so it give us some text here. So just let me just break so that you may see the content well. Let me break it so that it may be a bit short. Yeah, so but let me add another text again. So just write lorem, and then you can break it, or if you don't mind, you can leave it the way it is. It's not a big issue, but the way it appears in the browser is what matters. But I'm just breaking so that you may understand, that you may see these things properly. So this, we have generated some text here for the paragraph. So just click Ctrl+S to save, and then go to your file explorer. Just click Windows logo +E to open your file explorer, and then go where you had saved your documents. So I had saved it here on HTML and CSS. So this is my CSS, this is my HTML. It is displaying the Chrome icon because Chrome is my default browser. So let me just click on it to open on the browser. So this is my my HTML document. So let me just make it big so that you may see properly. So this is my HTML document, and I told you that HTML.css is very ugly. So the way you can see it is just like you are in something like the Word document you are just typing. So just very ugly, and that's why you are going to see how important CSS is. So let me just close this window for my file explorer so that I may have only these two, the text editor and the browser. So now that we have the HTML document, and then we have the browser now open, so we want to style this document. So why do we use CSS? CSS is used to define the style for your web pages, including the design, the layout, and perhaps the variation in display for different devices and screen sizes. So perhaps when let's try this one. So you see, when I resize this document, still the content will be displayed very well, and then when I adjust it, you can see. So CSS defines some variation and the display of my the documents in different devices. So for example, someone who is using a phone will see this he will actually see this page very well, but it will have a different layout or the display. So that's what CSS is all about. It's all about coloring, styling your HTML document, the layout, and so forth. So we have three. You can style your HTML using different style of CSS. We have the inline CSS. Actually, you have three types of CSS. You have the inline, you have the we have the external CSS. We have the inline CSS and internal CSS. The inline CSS and the external CSS, and the external CSS is what we are going to focus on. But also before then, let's try to understand the internal and the inline. And I'm going to use the coloring of the text, but we are going to focus on it in details. But for now, I just want us to understand the inline, internal, and external CSS. So with the internal CSS, you just add in the head section. You go here at the head, you ensure that you are in between the head, start tag of the head and the end tag of the head. You are in this element, and then create another line and then write styles, style, yeah, sorry. So just write style, yeah, this style tag. And then now so with the CSS we have the, unlike with the HTML where we used to have the angle brackets, here we are going to use the curly braces. The curly braces are just above the the square brackets, just besides opposite P on your keyboard, the keyboard on your laptop or computer. So those are the curly braces. So to style HTML, you must first of all define the element you are going to style. So here we use, like, we want to style the heading, so we use the h1. So h1 now becomes the selector, and then you open and close the curly braces, and then inside these two curly braces we have the property. So like property, we want to make the color of the heading to be the property. First of all, let's say color. We want to make the color of the heading to be red color. Then when you say red to be the color, now this is the value, and then these two, the color and the property and the value, now becomes your declaration. So remember, you can have different declaration. Like for example, we can make the heading to be centered. So you just say text align to make it centered or left or whichever side you want. So we have there are two, the two declarations. So this is the selector, this is the property, this is the value, and these two the declaration. And also again here we have the property, we have the value, and these two they are a declaration. So in other words, we can have different many types of declaration we can have different, we can have more than one declaration on a selector. So just click Ctrl S to save, and then here on the browser just refresh so that we may see the display. So you see we have made the text to be centered, and the color is red, the same way we did here with the CSS, with the way we did here. So let me just delete it, and I talk to you about the internal. So with the internal, you go to the same element, HTML element you want to style, and then you write style, and then you say color, just say color, and then put it to be red. Again red, let's use red. And then again we have the let's say text align, or let me use a different color so that I may not confuse you, so that you may understand well. We are going to discuss these colors in details, but for now I just want to highlight on the matter of the internal, external, and inline CSS. So this is the inline CSS. So another thing that we want to style is the text align. Let's make it right, so that it may not be appear the same as the one. Let's make it right here. Then click Ctrl S to save, and then here on the browser just refresh. So guys, you can see we have the blue. We have affected this document. So here we have the blue title, and then it is positioned at the right hand side. So the key thing that we want us to talk about in details is the external CSS. So let me first of all delete this one. So with the external CSS, actually it's always recommended to use the external CSS so that you may code at a different document. So with the external CSS, you link it to your HTML document. So you just use the link property, you link element. So you just use this link element, and then with the goodness with this text editor, I just complete for you. So here is the link property, and then here your hyperreference use. This the name of the document you want to use to style. So I'm using my styles. My styles.css it's my CSS that I've linked to this document. So you just say my styles.css. You ensure that the name is the same as the name of your CSS. Then I click Ctrl S to save. So now go to your CSS. It's very blank like this. First of all, let's refresh here so that it may be very blank like that. It may be just as default as it was. So now I told you that with CSS we have the selector, we have the property, we have the value, and the declarations, and also we introduced the curly braces. So just write h1. Remember I told you that is the selector. Then you open and close these curly braces, and then inside here you write the property. You begin with the property. So the property, let's say color, let's make it red. Again red, I'm just using red, the simple ones. And then I told you that you can have two or more different type of declarations. So let's use another one, which is text align. Text align and give it center. So just click Control. Before then, let me use a different color, so that I'm using just this color pickers, but we are going to discuss, don't worry, we're going to discuss colors in details. So here on your browser, just refresh. So you can see that it affects your HTML document style. So you can see that both internal, inline, and external CSS always do the same task in styling a HTML document. So now we want us to go to, so perhaps let me give you some, the way these are order, or how the priority is given to the type of external CSS. For example, if you are in a browser, the first thing that will matter on your browser to display your CSS is the inline. So even if you style your external CSS like how, and then you have a different inline CSS, so the browser will take the first priority to be the inline, and then it goes to the internal, and then it finally goes to the external. But also remember that different browsers have their different defaults. Like another one can decide that external is the most priority, and then internal the second priority, and then inline become the last. But it always depends with the browser's default. So now we want to discuss the CSS colors, because I've introduced to you the CSS color. So I don't think that this heading is, let's use it like the way it is. So another thing that we want us to style is the background of the page. So let me say background. Before then, let me say background, so that before we begin to discuss colors in detail. So we are going to discuss the body. So the select is body, and then give it the open and close this curly braces, and then I'll say background color to be light blue. I also like light blue. Then I click Ctrl S to save, and then on a browser refresh. So guys, you can see it's working. So now we want to discuss colors in details. So the CSS colors are specified using the predefined names and values. So we have the names, like you can name like what we have been using here. You can use just light blue, you can use green, red. So these are the color names, but also you can use the RGB values like this one. So you can see we have the this color, it has given us something like a green. So you can use actually the RGB in the color names. So the color names and the values. So we are going to begin with the color names, but the color names I don't want to go to in details because we have just typed here the color names. Like for example, let's begin afresh. So let's start the heading, which h1 is our heading is this, but in the HTML document is h1. So just write h1 and then open and close the curly braces and write color, and then you can we say that you can just give it any name like a blue or whichever color, and then yeah, blue. So let me just save, then here refresh. So you can see that our color is now blue. So this is now all about colors, color names. You can use any name, but I don't want to go into details with the color names because you can something that you can just understand. So I want us to talk with the color values. So the CSS colors can also be specified using the RGB, as I told you earlier, RGB values, or hexadecimal values, or the HSL values, and also the RGB with an extension of A, which is alpha values, and then we have the hue saturation in the lightness. So the hue saturation, it is what's called now our HSL. So we want us to begin with the RGB. So with the CSS, it's believed that we have only 3 colors that generates different colors. We have the green. First of all, we have the red, green, and blue. So these are the main colors that generate other colors. So like and it has values. So the maximum value for each color is 255, 255, 255 each. So we want us to so if you want to get the value of the colors that these are 3 colors can produce, you just multiply 255 times 255 times 255, and then you get the maximum number of colors that they can produce. So in the same H1, we want to use the RGB, but the property, remember, it will remain the same. So color, and then now we want to use the RGB, and then with RGB you must include now the bracket. So the bracket. So if you give it the maximum number of colors, like if you give it 255, 255, 255, so this is the maximum number of colors that each can produce. So if you combine all of them, it will give you white. So let's try to save and see in the browser. You can see it's white, and that's why it's not visible. And then if you give it the numbers to be 0, let's change to be 0, 0, 0, 0, and then I click save, and then always remember to save your HTML document before refreshing. So guys, you can see it is black. And then I take this example that if the first line, remember this R is represented by this first value, and then green and blue. So if you give it the maximum, it will be red. This first one to be 255, your color will be red, and then the rest to be 0, it will produce a red color. So just click Ctrl S, then I refresh. So you see the color is red. Take another example scenario here that this second value is takes the maximum like 255. It will be green, because green it has taken the maximum value. So you see it is green. And then take another example that this last one, it has taken the remember the last one is for blue. It has taken the maximum value, which is 255. Then click Ctrl S, and then here refresh. So you see it is blue. So it goes in that order. Like if you give it if you just try to balance, for example, let's take we have 255, then we have 100, and then we have 50. It will give you another color that I don't know. I don't know the color. Just click Ctrl S, and then refresh. So if you play around with those values, provided it does not surpass 255, it will give you some colors. Yeah, but you can as well use the color picker. You just hover your cursor here, and then you can use the color picker here. So you see it give you the values here. Yeah, if we choose this other end, it will give you white. So this side, it is, it has the maximum value, and then this lower side, it has the lowest value. Yeah, so it just like this way. And then when you click Ctrl S, and then here refresh, you see the effect. So I think this is now all about the RGB. Hope you have understood. So let's try to do another thing, to talk about another thing. So we are going to talk about the RGBA. The RGBA now is the RGBA. A is the extension of in that RGB, the red, green, and blue colors, but A defines the alpha, something like the opacity or transparency. Let's take this example. I told you that 255 for red, it will give you red. Actually 255. Then let me put the rest to be 0. So this is red color actually. Red color, if you refresh here, it's red. But if you include an extension here and say, remember the opacity or transparency ranges between 0 to 1. So 1 defines the 0 defines the total transparency, and then 1 defines like no transparency, like just something like opaque. So if we give it something, let's use an example of 0.5, just on the same so, but here you include the A here, you include the A so that you may have an alpha here. So just click Ctrl S to save, and then here refresh. So you see the opacity has changed. So let me try to say 0.1 so that you may see properly the effect. So 0.1, and then here refresh. So it's almost transparent. But if you give it something like 1.0, remember your values must be 0.0, point something. Don't just say 1. You include the point, then click Ctrl S to save. So you see it has the maximum opacity. And so I guess this is now all about the RGBA. So now the next thing that we want to talk about is the CSS hexadecimal with no values. So now with the hexadecimal values, we have the so the colors range, in normal circumstances the values or the whole numbers ranges between 0 to 9, but with the hexadecimal values it goes to 15. But now when it reaches 9, it goes to A, B, C, D, E, and F. So when you reach 9, like say we are in 9, so 10 it will be A, 11 B, 12 C, 13 D, 14 E, then 15 F. So F has the highest value, like with the RGB 255 is the largest value. So with the hexadecimal value, F is the highest value. So let me try to do it practical here. But you first of all begin with the hash, with the hashtag, and then you use. So for example, let's say FF, we say FF defines the highest value, and then the rest you include 0 0, remember, in pairs, then 0 0. So this will give you red, because red, it has taken the highest value, so it goes in that order. So F is the maximum value for red, green, and blue. So F it has taken the maximum value. So when you click Ctrl S and refresh on the browser, you see it's still red. Let me use another color here. When you give all of them to be 0 0, the color will be black. So just click Ctrl S and then refresh. So the color is black. But let me use this other one to be FF. Remember, FF has the highest value. Then click Ctrl S to save. Then here refresh. You see it's blue. But you can also have here DD, for example, DD, and then here you have maybe something like 66. So it will give a color that I don't know. A color that I don't know the name. So you see it has given you the color. So literally this the hexadecimal values just got the same as the RGB, but the difference is that here we use these values. So I say that when you reach 9, you go to A, B, C, D, E, and F. So I think you have understood the hexadecimal values. So guys, the next thing that we want to talk about the values is the HSL. So with the HSL, we have the hue, saturation, and lightness. And as I told you earlier, is that the hue defines the something like represents the colors in the color wheel, like 0 defines the red, and then 120 defines the 120 defines blue, and then 240 defines green, and then 360 is the same as 0, so it is red. So it goes in that range. And then saturation, it is represented in percentage. So like 0% means something like a shade or a gray, and then 100%, not 1000, represent the full color of the full color. So and then we have the lightness. So like 0 represent black, and then 100 represent white. So let's do it practically so that you may understand. So the selector is the same, H1, and then you go to the just open and close the curly braces, and then the next thing that you write is the property. Remember, the property is the same as the color, and then now we are using the HSL, the hue, saturation, and lightness. And then you open, and not really, you use the this brackets, the normal brackets. So let's use 0. Remember, 0, I told you that represent the red. So you don't put the degrees, you just write 0. And then the next thing you write is for example, let's give it 100% lightness, and then again let's give it something like a 50, the color, and then I click Ctrl S to save, and then on the browser try to refresh. So guys, you can see it is red. So actually let's use a different color, like let's use green. In green it is what, 120. Then click Ctrl S to save, and then refresh. So guys, we can see it has the same effect. So if you use for RGB, so red, green, and the other one is blue, 240. degrees represent blue. Always remember to save before refreshing. So you can see it is blue, so it goes just in that order. And also you can have the one with an extension of alpha, like here A. So with the A, you just include the opacity the same way we did with the the RGB. But I don't want to talk much in details because something that you do understand. I think we are now good with the colors. So the color is the most important part of CSS. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the backgrounds. So for example, are we satisfied with the heading? Let me use a different color. Like, let me try this one, or something like red. So this one I'm satisfied with it. I'm using the RGB. We are now done with the colors. I've talked about the RGB, the value, the names. Like when you can specify a color using the name, like a red, green. You can specify the color with the RGB, and then HSL, the hue, saturation, and lightness. Yeah, and so forth. So now we are done with the color. So I want us to talk about the backgrounds. So you can have with the backgrounds, you have the different properties, like the background color, like what we discussed earlier, we tried earlier. You can have a background image. You can have your background repeat, attached, and position, and also the shorthands. So let's try another one. So before then, let's save and see if the color is okay with us. So I think the color is okay, but let me make it. Let us make it to be at the center. So text align, and then let me make it centered, and then click Ctrl S to save. So this color is good for me. So now we want to talk about the backgrounds. So let's begin with the background color. So first of all, we want to make the background for the entire page. So for the entire page, you use the body to be your selector. Yeah, body to be a selector, and then you open and close the curly braces, and then use background color, and you make it something like light blue. I always like light blue or light green. I don't know what color you like. You can choose what you like, but here it is. The background color is light blue. So always remember the color. You can also use the RGB. I've taught you the RGB, the HSL, but I think for now let me use just light blue. But you can do what you could wish it to do with it. But remember, all of them has the same effect. Here. So this is about the background color. So the next thing, let me try to talk about the background images. So with the background image, you will ensure that you have an image in the same folder for your HTML, where your documents are, the CSS and the HTML. So just open your file explorer, and then go try to make some images to your HTML and the CSS. So these are my images. This is my logo, and this is my friend here. So let me make this folder, move this folder to this HTML and CSS. So let me go to the downloads. It is in downloads, and then HTML and CSS. Let me move it there. So now when I open, you can see I have my photos here in the same folder. So let me now close, and then now with the background image, first of all, let me remove the background color, and then click save. I think there'll be nothing here. So with the background images, so when you just by default, when you include an image in the background, it will appear in myriads. It will appear very many images repeated and to the end, to infinity. But yeah, Before then, let's try to make it so that you may, you may understand. So background image. So with the image, I just use the you just include the URL for your image. So like URL, you include the URL. Remember, the URL is the uniform resource locator, which defines the location of your image. And then you write, remember the folder, it is img photos. The folder is photos, right? Let me open and see my file explorer. And then so the folder, it is photos, and then the image, it is my logo, and the type is a PNG. Yeah. So let me write photos. It is for the folder photos, and then you put the /. So I have my logo here, and then we have the other one for my friend. So when you click Ctrl+S to save, and then on the browser refresh, you see there's very many images. It will be very many images that I will repeat. So this is my logo, and you can see it has repeated several times. So I think so. Now to make for example, let's try to make it that it may not repeat. So you include another property. So you say background repeat, and say no repeat. When you say no repeat, it will be just a single image. So just click Ctrl+S to save, and then on the browser just refresh. So guys, you can see we only have a single image. A single image. So this is now about the images, a background image, to insert some image. So but let me try to make the background color of the text to be something like white, so that it may not be interfered with the background image. So let me go to the paragraph. So the P for paragraph, the selector, and then open and close the curly braces, and make the background but let's use the color to be white. Let's say white. Let me use this one 00. Yeah, 00 is black, so let me use FF, and then I click Ctrl+S to save, and then here refresh. So guys, at least you can see this part of the text, it's white, but it doesn't match on this other end, because the background is also white. But you can as well customize the this part, so that your text may appear to this maybe at the middle, from this side to this side, so that you may place your images here. But with the margin, we will discuss it later. So this is now how you can insert your image. Perhaps let me try with another image. So let me go to my CSS, and then I try to change the type. So just photos, and then I'm using my photo. Then I click Ctrl+S to save, and then on the browser I try to refresh. So you can see this is the photo of my friend. And then I'm just this is now how you can insert your background image. But I don't want to talk much about the background image. We will discuss them in future more in details. So this is now how you can insert a background image. So the next thing that I want to I've talked about the repeat. I hope you do understand now. So by default, when you just insert a background image, it will repeat itself. So you must include the repeat property, so that to make it not repeat. So guys, I don't want to expose you to into details so much, but I think you are good now with the background colors and images, how to insert a background image. But I promise that we are going to discuss the those other backgrounds, like backgrounds images, background positions, like you can decide to place your image at the top, bottom, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. And also we have the background those attachment, like you can decide to make your image static, like when you scroll your image, it doesn't go with the content, it just remains static. Or also you can decide that your image moves with your content. So all of them we shall discuss in the future, but I saw that I'm taking you as a beginner, so I don't want to expose you to details, but we are going to discuss them as we go ahead, as we go on. So the next thing that we are going to discuss is the CSS borders. So the CSS border, sorry, I deleted this one. So with the CSS border, border properties allow you to specify the style, the width, and the color of the HTML element, HTML border. So the CSS style, border style properties specify what kind of borders to display. And we have the values, border values, like you can style your borders to be dotted, dashed, solid, grooved, and also the 3D ones, like grooved, the origin, set, and outside. But the effects depend. The 3D ones, their effects depends on the border color value, the color of the color value of the border. Yeah, and also none defines that there's no border. Hidden defines that there's a hidden border here. So without wasting a lot of time, let's begin to code. Before then, let me try to zoom in so that you may see properly. Yeah, so let's begin to code. First of all, we are going to begin with the border style, the property which is border style. So with the border style, let's begin with the the solid one, which is just write solid, and then I click enter, then click Ctrl S to save, and then on the browser just refresh. So you can see we have the border here. So but it has taken the color of the heading itself. But you can let's talk about all types of borders, so that before we go to colors. So we have also the border, the dashed defines like it's a dashed border. So let's click Ctrl S and to save it, and then on the browser just click Ctrl R to refresh. Then you have the dashed border, and then let's try the dotted one. The dotted is like almost like the dashed, but it uses the rounded, something like rounded. Then I click Ctrl S to save. Then on the browser just to refresh. It's almost the same as the dashed, but here we have the something rounded. Actually the square, something square like that. Yeah. Let me zoom in again in this browser so that you may see well. Yeah, I think that's perfect for us. And then another thing that maybe double border. So the double border will have the double border. So click Ctrl S to save. Then on the browser just to refresh. And guys, you can see we have the double border. Let me zoom in so that you may see well. You can see we have the double border. We have two borders here. Yeah. So the next thing that the 3D ones I don't want to talk about them now, but let's move to colors. So with the border colors, I hope that you understand colors. So colors, I'll not talk much about it, but let's use another property. So border color. Border color, you can decide, for example, let me say the border color to be something like lime. Then I click Control S to save, and then I refresh. You see the border, it's lime. Let me use the solid. Let me use the style to be solid. Let me make it solid, but the lime, I see it doesn't match with the, so let me make a darker color here. Then click Control S to save, and then here Control R to refresh, or you can use this tab to reload. So you can see we have the blue border. So you can play around with the colors so that you can choose what you want. You can use color pick, or you can just type the name like a blue. You can just say the color to be blue color names. I've taught you the color names, the color values, so all of them, they do work, so just the same. And then with the border, another thing that we may talk about the border is the border width. So I told you that by default, when you say thin, it's actually 1 pixel thick. And then we say medium is 3 pixel thick, and then when you say thick, it is 5 pixel thick. So let's say border width. So when you say thin, it's by default it is 1 pixel thick. So click Control S to save, and then here refresh. You can see it is 1 pixel thick. You can measure, or you can do it. You cannot see the measurements, but let me say it medium. It will be 3 pixel thick. Yeah, you can see. And then when you say thick, yeah. Then I click Control S to save. You can see it is 5 pixel thick. You can assume it's 5 pixel thick, but it is 5 pixel thick. But also you can use the values, like you can say 5 pixel. It will have the same effect. So click Control S to save, and then refresh. You can see it's almost the same, but we say something like a 10 pixel. Then click Control S, and then click Control R. You can see it is 10 pixel thick. So guys, I'm sure that you've got something about the border style, border width. So the next thing that perhaps on border that we might want to talk about is the shorthand property. So like you've seen that we've written a lot of codes that are different lines, many lines, like a border style, color, width. So it might be a waste of time, but we have the shorthand. So the shorthand, you can include all of them just in a single line. Like when you say border, you just write this property for border, and then I click enter. So perhaps first thing you might choose, you might specify the border width. So the width is, let's use 3 pixel, and then you say solid. I like solid, and then the color I want it to be a tomato. Let me use tomato. So you can see in a single line we have included 3 properties at the same time. So when you click Control S to save, and then on the browser refresh, you can see it is the border. It has specified the border, the width, and then the style, which is solid. Also, let's try to make it dotted. Let's use another style to be dotted, dashed. then click Ctrl S to save, and then refresh. So guys, you can see we have our dashed borders. So this is now all about the borders. I am sure that you've understood. If you haven't understood, you can rewind the video a bit so that you may get what you haven't understood. And then the next, also we have the rounded borders. Like before we go ahead, let me talk to you about the rounded borders. So you can have, let me use the solid. It's good. Around solid, let me say solid. So with the rounded borders, you can say border radius. You use the property which is border radius. You cannot include in the shorthand. You just use another property. So border radius. So when you give it something like 15 what? 15 pixel. I like measurements for pixel, and then click Control. So you can see we have the rounded borders. If we say something like 20, 20, then click Control S to save, and then refresh. It will be very. You can see we have the rounded borders. So I guess now this is now all about the borders. So, but we will discuss them more in details as we go ahead. So the next thing that we want to talk about is the margin. So margins are used to create a space around elements, outside of any defined borders. So you can have some margins here between the border and the paragraph, or with any other HTML element. So for example, let's create some margins here. So to do so, we use the margin property. So let's go to our HTML document, and then we want the margin. Let's use the one for in the heading, just in the H1. So let's talk about the margin. But remember, margin also always affected the HTML, any HTML element like a border, paragraph, and any other. So let's say margin. When you use the margin property, just like that, the shorthand, you must when you say something like 50 or 100, let me say 100, it will go all around. So let me say pixel, actually px for pixel, and I click Ctrl S to save, and then refresh. You can see, guys, we have the margins around. When you say 100, it affects the bottom, the top, the bottom, the sides, and the sides. But if you specify like 100, and then 50 pixel, 20 pixel, and then perhaps 30 pixel. So it goes in the clockwise way, in the clockwise manner, like this is the top, and then it goes in this way. It goes in the clockwise. So this one is the top side, and then this is the right hand side, and then this is the bottom, and then this one for this other side, this the left hand side. So when you click Ctrl S to save, and then refresh, we shall have the 100 pixel. Actually it will remain like this, but it will have the effects in these other sides, but this one it will remain because we've said it is 100. So you can see the top side it's just the same, and then the bottom side it was what? it was 20 pixel. It was 20 pixel, and the size was 50 pixel. So this is now how you can insert some margins. So we have the or you can specify the for specifying each, you can use the margin top, right, bottom, left, or the shorthands like what we've used. You just include those pixels. You just you include these pixel. This now the shorthand, but you can specify each individual like margin top, margin bottom, margin right, and then it has the same effect. But with a single, it's a waste of time. Yeah, it's a waste of time. So let's go to another thing, CSS padding. So CSS padding is used to create space around an HTML content inside of any defined borders. So with the padding, it always affects the borders, inside the borders, like in this this heading, the paddings, like the space between this the top margin and the content here, like it can make this space to be big, to be small, and so forth. So we can have remember the shorthands. I also like the shorthands, but you can have you can specify each, like padding top, padding bottom, padding left. So let's say padding property, padding, and make it what, something like if we use 50, it will be very big pixel. Then click Ctrl S to save, and then here refresh. It will be very big, I guess. So you can see it defines the space between the character and the margins. You can see it is 50 pixel. We use 50 pixel all around, but you can use a different, like let's say, let me try to use let's say background padding top to be 50. So it at the top, it is the only place that will be 50. So click Ctrl S to save, and then refresh. So guys, you can see it's only at the top side that will be 50. And then now if you use padding left to be 50 pixel, then click Ctrl S, it will create some space in the left hand side. So you can see the space around the left hand side. Yeah, this is how it is. So perhaps let me try another one. So padding left. Also you can have the two properties and the two values, like if we say padding 50, at the top it will be 50, and then if we say like 5 pixel, at the right hand side it will be 5 pixel. Then click Ctrl S to save, and then refresh. So at the top it will be 50 pixel, at this other side it will be what, 5 pixel. So you can see, guys. Yeah, so it affects the both the bottom and the top and the bottom. I'm kinda confused, but I guess we shall finish. So let's go to another thing, like the height width. So with the CSS height and width, so the height and width are used to set the height and width of an HTML element. So like the height, so like let me say, so like the height is the distance between the top and the left, I guess. Yeah, and then the width, it is always like something like between on the horizontal, like from left to right. So basically what you need to understand that the height goes from up vertically, from up to bottom, or from bottom to up, and then the width goes from between it goes between right, the right and the left, or left to right. So this is now the width. So to use that property, we want to use let me first of all remove this border so that we may not have a lot of things here. Let me just remove these things so that it may be just default as how it was. So to talk about the margin, the height, we just use the height like that height. So the height, if you give it something like let's say 50 pixel, and then width we give it something like 50%. So when we say 50%, remember the width it really. So first of all, let me click control. If we say 50% to be the width, it means that it will divide this thing to be a half, this length to be a halfway. So like it will be something it will range between from this part to this end. So like your content will just be at this section. So let's click Control S to control what R to refresh. So guys, you can see we have the height is 50 pixel thick. Yeah, but the problem where the effect where you see the width is not displaying well here is that we haven't included the property here for width. So you must include the width always. So we just include the width and then say 50% for it to have an effect on the browser. Then I click Control S to save, and then I here refresh. So guys, you can see it has divided this part to be in a 50. It has divided the line to be 50. So the next thing that we are going maybe on the same note, let me use the width to be the maximum. I want to introduce you to something else like the maximum width. Max width, if you give it something like 500 pixel, and then yeah, and then the height we give it something like let's give it something like auto height to be auto. This property is very important, especially on browsers like but let me use something like the color so that it may have a good effect. So like when you use this the 500 pixel to be the maximum width, so it means that let me try to save and refresh here. So when you give it something like 500 pixel, it means that when you resize your window or whichever difference, it cannot support certain height. So like when you give it, when it reaches this place, it cannot exceed. So this is now the goodness of the maximum width. So let's try to increase maybe say something like 1,000 pixels, then click Control S to save and then refresh. So guys, you can see, but it affects this part, so that it cannot exceed this size. When it reaches there, it cannot exceed. So that's the goodness with it. To say for setting your maximum width, so that your content may be just displayed well on different devices. So so CSS it's very wide, but for now I'm going to create another video where we are going to discuss CSS in details. But for now, thank you guys for watching. I just wanted to introduce you to CSS, but thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, go to my YouTube channel, and then I click subscribe button, and also like the video. because more contents are going to come. Also turn the notification bell so that when I upload a video, you just get notified. So thank you guys for watching. Have a blessed day or night, whichever time it is on your end. Thank you.